Hey everybody, Paul from Better Chess, and we are at round 5 of the 2024 Senior Chess Championship. It's the 5th and final round. I have the white pieces against the 1773, so they are rated about 100 points less than I am. I started to get some of my confidence back in round 4, and I felt for round 5 like I really wanted to unleash my creativity and really try to play actively to get a good game. And I think what you're going to see is a very interesting game that goes both ways. And it's a classic example of how to maintain an advantage in chess and how oftentimes amateurs lose the thread and wind up either having a draw or a loss. So let's see what happened. I have the white pieces. I start e4, knight f6, my typical d3, king's Indian attack I always play. He plays e5. This is Petrov. I play knight f3. If it looks familiar, that's what the formation is. d6, a little unorthodox, but I'm just going to play g3, develop my pieces. He plays this odd h6. I guess to stop bishop g5, which I'm not intending anyway, but I thought he would just immediately play either g6 or bishop e7, but it's harmless. Just not very active. So, bishop g2, bishop g4 with the pin. Now I'm just going to play, castles, again, just continue to develop. Knight c6. He wants to play knight d4, which is harmless, but I'm going to stop it anyway with just c3 because I also want to play d4 myself after some preparation. He plays queen c8 here, a little odd. I thought he might just play, if he's trying to get the bishops off, I thought he was planning on like bishop h3, which is not wrong, but he can do that from the d7 square too. It's more flexible. He can castle long here. He has a whole bunch of moves he can entertain. But it's queen c8, so fine. Play rook e1 to defend the e4 pawn, preparing d4. Bishop e7, good developing move. Knight bd2, typical king's Indian attack. Knight, castles. And now we're kind of getting into the late opening phase of the game here. Good move here, probably knight f1, which is typical, but I put my knight on c4 later. But right now I just play queen c2. Just get out of the pin, reinforce some the e4 pawn after I push d4. And I just, wanted to connect my rooks in the near future. So bishop h3. I don't know why he's going through all this effort to get my bishop, but he's welcome to it. I play knight c4. A better move might be like b4, just grabbing space, which I think is a little more common here and more practical. But knight c4 it is. He takes, I take back. And he plays this, I think, loosening b5 to try and take, kick my knight away. I'm going to e3 anyway, so I just go to e3. And now he has some weaknesses. It's still equal, but nothing to write home about. After some thought, I thought I had a small advantage here because of that b5 move. And then he plays the strange knight h7, which is odd. And now I feel I have a good advantage. He relinquishes control of d5, which is very strange. So with that, I play h4. I don't want him to play knight g5, right? Because I think what he's trying to do, and this is my impression, I could be wrong, sometimes when you're playing a stronger player, you want to try to err on the side of trading, going into an ending where it's equal and maybe everything fizzles out to a draw. That was my thinking. Is that what he was planning? I don't know, but it seemed that way. So I just played h4 to just keep him out of g5. His knight's misplaced and continue my plans. Okay, so he plays rook e8. Not too bad. Getting his piece developed, but also maybe evacuating the f8 square for the bishop if it needs to tuck in there to defend and create some defensive moves. So then I'm like, all right, bishop d2. Again, just developing. And bishop f8. I'm right. He wants to tuck his bishop away on the g7 square and protect through that diagonal the h6 square as well, if it ever becomes under attack. And then thought about this. Do I play d4, c4? I decided, you know what? I'm gonna attack on the queen side. That's where the weaknesses are. So I play a4, which is reasonable. He defends, and then I said, you know what? I see this d5 score open. Let me just hop in there. Knight d5. Right? It sort of it's sort of uncontested right now, which I kind of like. And he sees this and he realizes, you know what? I got to get rid of this guy's knight. So he plays a knight back to e7 to try to exchange. I could capture it and it's just dead equal, but I figured, you know, let me try and grab some more space and create some more activity. So the move c4 is what I played here, and two reasons. Yes, to defend the knight, but also to open up this bishop's diagonal for the future, if that ever has to happen. So I felt it was multi-purpose. I think the game is still dead equal, but I like my chances. So he, inexplicably, I thought he was just going to take on, bc4 or something, but he takes the knight, which is definitely not a good move. And I just recapture cd5, and look at this weakness on c7. What's he going to do? I know where my target is, right? And this is going to be hard for him to defend. Can he defend it? Yes, but it's an open c-file, and my pieces are going to converge on this very rapidly, right? Okay, so then I play, he plays queen b7, I think to get the rook to c8, and he wants to be able to start defending, which is, I guess, okay. And then I start hitting the target, right? Rook ec1. Stockfish says rook ac1 is different, is a better move. I can't really tell you why that's a better move. Perhaps leaving the e rook on e1 has some advantage if he plays f5 or something. I don't know. But I felt rook e is better, and keeping my a rook is reasonable. So he then he takes. I take with the rook. Now I have a very strong advantage, I think. I don't think taking was the right move. Probably something like f5 to mix it up. I mean, I'm still better, but by taking, he's kind of giving me what I want, right? So I take with the rook. He defends his c-pawn. I triple up on the file, rook to c4. And I'm just much better here. Now he should play a move probably like a5 to kind of expand a little bit, but he doesn't. He gets his knight back in the game. And then I play this really, I think, pretty strong move here, which is bishop a5. Preventing a5 and then putting more pressure on the c7 square. Thinks a little bit, and, this is something he does pretty well. He plays knight e8. It's a good defensive move. Okay. And, I have probably a winning advantage at this point. It's not mating, but it is, strategically winning. But, I'm barely 1900 here, so I have to convert this. And this is where the challenge is. I have to be very careful of where I put my pieces. And more importantly, I should not rush. That's the key in this position. Do not rush and watch for counterplay. Those are the two things one has to do when they have an advantage like this. Okay. So I don't rush. I play rook c6. I just put the rook on this square, making it essentially invulnerable. Right? Also to gain some time. After some thinking, he plays this rook d7 move, which I didn't understand at first, but then I realized, he's going to try and do bishop e7 to d8 to defend. It's not a bad idea. It's pretty smart. And this is a position where I should probably play something that's very defensive, even though I'm positionally winning. G4 would be a very strong move here. And the reason why is the only move he can have to really mix it up is f5. G4 just crushes that idea. It's a very strong move. But anyway, I didn't play that. I'm too bloodthirsty to go on the attack. So I play knight d2, the intention of just getting my knight in the game and getting all pieces to the queen side. Okay, now he begins his bishop's journey. His bishop e7, right? Destined to go to d8. And it's going to be very defensive there, but very strong. Stockfish doesn't like this move. I don't know what to say. He says, Stockfish says f5 immediately. Okay. But from an amateur perspective, I think this is a reasonable try. But Stockfish says at this point, I have a winning advantage. I can just take on c7. It would look something like this. Bishop takes. He can't capture back, by the way. Knight takes c7, takes. Rook c2 is crushing. He has to go back to b8, and I take the bishop and another piece, and it's over. That's kind of hard to see, but that's why bishop e7 is not a good move, because it hangs a piece during all those exchanges. And I didn't see it. So, no foul, no harm. Okay, so bishop d8, and now I'm trying to figure out what do I want to put on a5. Do I want my bishop there? Do I want my knight there? What do I want? So I decide, you know what? Let me evacuate the bishop, put it back to d2. It's kind of dubious. And he plays rook e7. I play knight a5, hitting the queen, but so what? I'm not sure what that's supposed to do. He plays back to c8. A really strong move here is actually knight to c4 with all kinds of threats, right? I'm threatening to play knight b6, which is a fork he can't take because the queen hangs, and also knight here taking. If he takes the knight, I take with the rook, and then his queen hangs at the I win a piece. So it's a devastatingly strong move. But didn't play that. Instead, I played the dubious queen c4, targeting the a6 pawn, but that's not really the spirit of the position. And then he plays this good move, which I talked about earlier. Remember I was talking about how do you quell the moves of your opponent? He plays f5. It's really the only move he has to stay in the game and create some counterplay. And if I misplay this, he may have his chances. And I do. I should not take this. I should play like f3. Instead, I capture. And he takes, actually he doesn't take it, he plays rook f7 first. This is a good move. He's going to take it with an active piece. And maybe then put pressure, inadvertent pressure on f2, depending on what piece captures. So I thought about this a little bit. I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to play g4, allowing h4 to hang, and he takes it. Bishop takes h4. But I figured this was an okay move. And now I swing the rook now to the h-file. So c7 pawn is still an issue, and I'm going to swing my work over here. He plays bishop g5. It's an odd move. I thought he might just play g5, actually, but bishop g5. Take, pawn structure is a mess. I wanted to play queen c1, which is a good move, hitting the pawn, but I wasn't sure what happened after knight f6. There was some problems there, so I didn't play that. Instead, I played the weaker rook h5, which Stockfish gives a question mark. So now my opponent plays rook b8, good active move, and I decided I'll take the g pawn. Rook takes g5, or do I take on a4? Turns out I should take on g5, but this is just now an actively equal game, dynamically equal. I should play like b4, but I don't. I take the pawn with the rook, and now the game is just equal. I've given away my advantage. Strange as that sounds. He plays knight f6, a little bit of a dubious move. I take on g5. He plays now a very strong move, and knight takes d5. I didn't even see this. Okay, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm lost, because if I take the knight, he takes the rook, and I was very down about this move. It turns out that is not true. White is winning. And the move is queen takes d5, allowing the rook to hang. And then this move, f6. And the game is over. What is he going to do? King f8? I'm going to meet him on this down the file here. If he takes, check. There, I take the rook. It's just over, right? Nothing to do. 1-0. Shows you how complicated this game can be. So anyway, I don't play that. I play knight c6. He plays a knight f4 check, strong move. I play king f3. I guess king g3 was a better idea. King g3, knight e2. I just run away and no one can stop me, oddly enough, and I'm winning. But I play f3, a little weaker of a move. And now he finds he plays a good move here. He plays d5. He had another move would be queen b7, which is sort of on the diagonal. But d5 is considered a question mark. And I play back to a2. Right? This game is going backward and forward. There's all kinds of counterplay happening here. And I have to stay sharp to make sure I don't screw this up. So, he then plays rook takes b2. Again, my a6 rook is hanging. Strong tactics. I think about this a long time. I take on b2, which is a mistake. I should have played rook a8, oddly enough. And then what happens? Takes, and rook back. I take on c7. Rook takes. Look at all these tactics. It's ridiculous. Here, take. And after all this, white is winning, but it's a very complicated game. So it just shows you how tough this opponent can be, right? So he takes on B2. I take on B2. He takes to A6 rook. And then I decide to knight takes E5. Apparently queen takes E5 was every bit as strong, but knight E5. So he plays knight takes D3. Another strange move, but I calmly find queen B8, which is a good move. Rook F8. And then I take the C7 pawn while still being on the E5 knight, so I can capture it if it gets captured. And then he plays this move, which I did not see at all, and I became very depressed. He played queen F6, and I'm thinking I'm lost. My rook is hanging. My knight is hanging. I cannot believe I screwed this up. Anyway, that's a hallucination. I'm not losing at all. I played the inexplicable knight takes D3, and the game is dead equal. He just takes the rook, and the game is equal. What I missed is this very obvious. There's a couple of moves here. Just queen takes G7. Queen takes G7, forced. Rook takes G7, takes. Knight takes. And what does he have? Now I'm in a winning ending. I have two connected passed pawns. The knight is enough, and I'm winning. This is just a winning ending. Show you a little bit of rook A8 to try and get to the king. Look at that. This is devastating. Right? There's nothing he can do. I'm going to win this game. But I did not see that. So, knight takes D3, rook takes. It's still complicated. And then I decide, all right, let's just go here. Knight F4. Let's get on some squares here. I have good squares on E6. I have good squares on G6. Let's see what I can do to make things happen. I'm also hitting the D5 pawn, so this is a pretty good move. Position is dead equal, though. I have no advantage at all. So he's playing for the win here. He wants to play rook A8. But, you know, I just decided to take on G5. Take on D5. The queen is on G5, but I didn't see anything he can really do to hurt me. He checks me on A3, and I just bring the knight back. It's a draw. After all this work. I offered a draw. He declined. He played a little more. He played queen H4, and queen D7. He checked me. He's making sure I don't make any mistakes, and that's fair. I played king F4. He checked me. I played king F3. I offered him a draw, and he accepted. So this is a really interesting game that was very double-edged. He had a lot of chances to defend. He defended pretty well. I played inaccurately, so did he. But I think that the key here is to make sure you are very vigilant when you have an advantage. Because, again, I missed that bishop E7 idea where I could have just taken and won a piece had I exchanged. I wasn't vigilant about that. Playing a move like G4 to stop counterplay. That was also a critical idea. I missed that earlier in the game. So, all in all, not a terrible outing. I think I got, 2.5 out of 5 is my total score. Little too many draws than I would have wanted. But anyway, that was the senior championship. Thank you for all who attended. I'll put the link to the blog post in the notes below so you can go into more detail to see what my thoughts were in the game itself if you wanted to review the actual chess base notes and variations. Thank you all, and I will see you in the next video.